guys, it is your girl Jocelyn Joseph back with another video of Teenz Talk, another episode of Teenz Talk, and I am here today with a very special guest from, I think you all know the show, Have and the Have-Nots. I am here with Mr. Keith Burke, and would you like to introduce yourself and tell them a little bit about yourself?
Hello, everybody, and hello, everybody out there watching Teenz Talk. I am Keith Burke, aka Derek David on the Have and the Have-Nots. I'm an actor born and raised in West Philadelphia, and I now reside in Los Angeles, California. And I'm really excited to be here and just look forward to sharing some hopefully helpful information with everyone.
Well, we are glad that you are here. I have a few questions for you. The first question is, where are you from?
Originally, West Philadelphia born and raised. From the Will Smith era of West Philly. So we came up at the same time. And actually, he was quite instrumental and indirectly in me getting to LA years ago.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
The second question is, how many siblings do you have?
Well, now I only have one biological sibling left. My brother passed away. My younger brother passed away, and we recently were celebrating his birthday, which was last week on the 16th. But I still have a sister, and, you know, a lot of love in the family still left. So grateful for that.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Third question, did you play any sports in school at all?
Well, yeah, my passion was always football, but thanks to 3 knee operations, that's a dream deferred. I also ran track, and I swam. Those were my 3 top. I love baseball, but my main sports in terms of school and playing was track and football.
Track and football. My mom, she did track when she was in high school.
Oh,
track, basketball, and flag football. I think that's what she did.
That's awesome.
Me, on the other hand, I don't play sports.
But you look like an athlete, so I'm surprised.
I dance. That's the only thing I like.
See, that's what it is.
Okay. And act, but if it's anything to do with like a ball or anything, it's
not your interest, right? No, it's okay. I mean, I get it. It's not for. Listen, none of my sons played sports, so
none of them?
I get it. I mean, my oldest son Dominic, he played football, but like as far as that passion for sports, the younger ones, not as of yet. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. Did you attend college? If so, where and what did you major in?
Well, at the risk of giving TMI, I'm working on my autobiography, and there's that, I call that that chapter is the School of Hard Knocks, and it's about how I bounced back and forth in school. And, you know, it was interesting because in reading a lot of your questions the other day, some of them, what really stuck out at me was, you know, I think there was something about, you know, people wanting to make decisions and do things the faster way. And, you know, I come from an era when I was young that was that era of that fast money and that street life. And, you know, really acting and the arts saved my life. And if it wasn't for that, I promise you things could have definitely gone a different way. But ultimately it was my out. And, you know, those years were like really tumultuous for me. But I started out, you know, really wanting to major in psychology because I love the study of human behavior, which ultimately is another way of saying I wanted to be an actor, but wouldn't own it. You know, so I said, I'll study human behavior. It'll be fascinating to learn why people do the things they do, you know, because I was in Philly and it just seems like such a you know, something so far away. And I was like, well, you know, but when Will did it, then that kind of like opened my mind a little more to start thinking like, you know, my mother told me I was going to be an actor, by the way, at 9.
Wow.
I told her I was going to be in the NFL. Who was right? Which one of us was right?
Your mom?
Yeah, moms know. Moms know. And she told me, she said, you're going to be an actor and you're going to be successful. I was like, I'm going to be a football player and maybe I can do some commercials or something.
That's how my mom
That's how much I love sports.
that's how moms are, especially my mom. When I was smaller, when I was a baby, I used to always rock myself to sleep. And she was like, this girl's going to be a performer one day. I was like, yep. And here I am.
They
Doing
know.
what to do.
They know.
They always know.
Yeah, I mean, you could, because when you look at your children, you get some semblance of an idea. You may not always know right away, but you kind of know where it feels like their natural truth lies, you know, like kind of what motivates them, even if they're not sure how to put it into words. And I think that, you know, growing up where I did in the time that I was growing up, I didn't see actors, people that I knew that were actors. I
Mhm.
didn't see that. And if it wasn't for the time that I spent in the Philadelphia Boys Choir, I wouldn't have been as exposed to so many different forms of the arts. My mother did have me taking piano lessons, which I really loved. Um, had a natural ear for, and so she started paying for lessons. And my teacher, and I've never talked about her, but not on purpose or anything, but her name was Charlotte Bell, and she was really good friends with the act. He was an actor, and wow, I can't think of his name right now. This is driving me crazy. Oh my god! But it'll come to me in a second. I'm sorry, because it just hit my head. But she exposed me to so many different things that I hadn't even thought about in terms of what we could do as African Americans, and just, you know, I don't really care for that term that much, but, you know, just as people,
Mhm.
that they classified as people of color. And I saw all these different, Paul Robeson, that was his name. I'm sorry. She was really good friends, great friends actually, with Paul Robeson. And if you ever get a chance to look him up, you can see the phenomenal things that he accomplished, especially during the gym, you know, during the time that he was alive. And that was just one of the first people that kind of inspired me to start thinking about, you know, there are no limitations. And so I started doing, like, you know, I was brought up in the church, so I started doing those church plays.
Mhm.
And in the course of doing those, I kind of fell in love with the idea of being good at something that entertain people. And so from singing in the boys choir and then doing these church plays, that's kind of how I got introduced to singing and theater. I mean,
Wow.
at the church, you know, believe it or not.
That's great. That's
Oh, it was amazing. You know, the Philadelphia Boys Choir, if you ever read up on them, they've been all over the world, been on Bob Hope, you know, back in the day, 3 or 4 times. I mean, it was just such an amazing experience. And it really, really, every year this time, we would perform at the Academy of Music in Philadelphia
Mhm.
for the Nutcracker Suite. So we with the Philadelphia Ballet. So we would only be on for the very end, when they did the I think I forget what they call the fairies or something, where they did this number, and it was the end of the Nutcracker Suite, and we sang this, and it would, the spotlight would hit us, and it would be each day, like maybe I think it was like 8 to 10 of us. So they rotated, so because we were in school during, you know, so they rotated us out during the month of December during this Nutcracker Suite. And just seeing, you know, being able to perform with these people that were like world-renowned ballet dancers, and, you know, just watching them perform and be great, and people just, it really kind of drew me into the arts, and it opened my mind up a lot more.
That's
If
good.
that kind of ties that in any way, but I'm trying to just give you sort of my foundation as a child, and kind of how acting kind of started to become a part of my world, and entertainment and performing.
That's wonderful. How many
Thank
kids do
you.
you have?
Kids. I have four. I have 4 boys, and 3 of them are biological.
Okay.
Yep.
4 boys.
Dominic. Yep. Michael, Jalen, and August.
My mom has 2 kids.
4 boys. Yeah.
She has
2
one
of them are
boy and
grown,
one
and 2
girl.
of them are still little boys. Huh?
I said she has one boy and one girl. Two.
Hey, but see, that's it. Once you covered. Now you got one of each. I'm
Right.
done regardless. But at least your mom is covered. You understand? Like, she
Right.
has one of each. You
Right.
know, and that's a blessing. That's a huge blessing, because you get to experience different, you know, different sides of it. So I think that's pretty cool. And
Um,
look at what you're doing. Very, very admirable.
yes. I want to be a, an
You
artist.
will be.
Right.
You're going to
I will
be.
be, and I'm going to be
There
performing
you go.
artist, an actress. My brother, he wants to be an NBA player. I'm just like, okay, decide, do your thing.
Exactly, because there's nothing is out of reach that you're willing to work and sacrifice for. I
Right.
promise you that. It's like that the key is truly like it's just all in the journey, and everybody's journey is different. Some people's things happen fast. Some things they happen medium, and some people take a long time. You
Right.
know, and that's for no other reason than that's their journey. But if you love what you do, you'll always, you know, you'll keep pushing yourself and it'll propel you forward. Just know that it's what you say. Like, you know, when we talk about speaking things into, it's like, I don't want anything, I'm going to do this,
Right.
and it'll be up to the universe to show me that it had other plans, but I'm going to, as far as I know, do X, Y, and Z. You are an actress, you are a singer, and no one has the right to tell you that you're not, because you're working at it, you're performing, you're singing, you're dancing. So it's not a want, it's manifesting in your actions.
Thank you for that. That's
Oh, absolutely.
those are powerful words right there. What is your favorite food?
Oh my goodness. Well, you know, I recently finally switched over to vegetarian. I eat some fish and a little seafood, you know, but I was a carnivore for many years. I love to barbecue. I love jerk chicken, the whole nine. You know, I ate it all. I used to fry pork chops back in way back, way back. But I left that alone many years ago. Probably over 25 years ago, I stopped eating pork. But the rest of the meat I stopped. Um, it's been over a month now, and I feel literally 200% better. But I'm older, and I felt like my body was just telling me which direction to go. And I really believe that. I think our bodies really inform us, and we look for ways. Oh, I'll just take an antacid. Like, don't eat that. Maybe your body's saying it doesn't want that.
Right.
Possibly, you know. So I had to start learning those things, and so my favorite foods now are stir fries. Um, I still love pastas because you can have that without meat, meatless pastas and things like that. But I don't do dairy, so it has to be like a vegan cheese or no cheese at all.
Okay.
If that answers your question, yeah.
What's your favorite snack?
Oh my God. All right, so now I'm telling on myself. I'm literally a sugar junkie, and I'm really in rehab trying to come off of that narcotic because it is such the danger of, you know, like most of the things in your body are created by sugar, you know, too much sugar and things like that. But I love like like cookies. I love like these cookies called mandolins because they taste like butter pound cake. Like they're cookies, but it's really cake shaped like a cookie, and it's just insane. They're called mandolins, and I love them. I used to have a salt like the Doritos and all that, but I've been able to leave that behind. So right now, it's mostly the sweets. It's the mandolins and these different types of, you know, I love chocolate, so I have to watch that too.
Chocolate.
Some right now I'm yeah, I ration it. I try to ration it, but it's those late night cravings that kind of get to me at times. But yeah, my favorite snack I would say right now have to be mandolins. I don't know if you know what they are, but like I said, they're cookies, but they're really butter pound cake shaped cookies. So I'm eating cake, but I'm calling it a cookie.
I'm gonna have to let my mom try some of those. We're gonna have to look them up and see if we can order some. I think she would like.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, they're dangerous though. Just don't you know, if I could just eat like 3 or 4 and then put them down, I'd be fine. But I'll eat like 15, and that's just not good. Yeah. So I'm off of those for a little while. All right. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
What's your favorite dessert?
That's easy for me. My favorite dessert has always been cheesecake
Cheesecake. I think my mom's
with
hers.
some fruit.
What was hers? I think it's pound cake. It's either
Right. Butter
pound cake
pound
or
cake. That's
red
the
velvet
cookies.
cake. I think it's red velvet.
Okay. Also delicious. But yes, that pound cake. Once you've had pound cake, you are addicted to sugar for the rest. I mean, it's to me that's the best cake. Pound cake is the best cake. But that butter pound cake, yeah.
Was acting something that you always dreamed of doing, or is it just something that happened in your life?
If I'm honest, if I'm being totally honest, acting is something I probably always wanted to do and deep down. And I don't think I owned it until I owned it. And like I said, it saved me at a particularly tumultuous time in my life, and it gave me an outlet. And I found that oftentimes what can pull us away from the direction we want to go is fear.
Mhm.
So we find other things to get involved in because those things may seem more palatable and more accessible than this dream that we have.
Right.
And so ultimately, when I got, finished with the world smacking me around, I was out there a little bit, and it had gotten to be a little bit much. I said, well, as soon as you have that thought and you own it, the universe it'll give you something. And it gave me an outlet to a theater company called Freedom Theater in Philadelphia, and actually Erica Alexander from Living Single came out of there as well.
What?
And yeah, some guys that I knew were going, and they were like, "Hey, you should come through and check it out." And it's a great theater program, and I joined, and they're the ones that I had been there for about, I think, a little over a year, and they were like, I think you should head out west and really do that. I think you'll be successful. I really believe that, and that's the thing, when someone believes in you, um, and they speak that positive, uh, you know, positivity in your life. I had a theater instructor that wrote something to me, and I still have it till this day. And I keep it in my bag at all times. And now I've had it for over 25 years. And it was something he wrote in a notebook. I tore the cover off and laminated it. And now it's going to be with me forever, because it's just I'm going to use it in the forward of my book. And I just feel like, it speaks to, you know, being fearless. It speaks to, you know, he was speaking that I would be an actor, and the journey would be a magnificent um, journey, and I will never reach the end of my own becoming. Meaning, you will always be evolving, and you will always be, developing, and it will always be more to learn and more to do and more to experience and share. And it'll be something that is specific only to you. And just that empowerment, those words of encouragement, uh, gave me enough to seal the deal. And I just drove across country with a buddy of mine, and the rest is history. It has been a heck of a journey, let me tell you.
That sounds
Oh
like
boy.
that sounds like a long journey, but it's all paid off.
So yeah, honestly, I could never complain. No matter how difficult things get and what you do, they get difficult in any profession. I think that it speaks so much to when you can look yourself in the mirror and know that you're doing exactly what you dreamed of. Not, in the specifics of this show or that show, but the fact that, oh, wow, I believe so much in myself that I'm going to drive 3,000 miles away from my family. Like, I have no family in Los Angeles at all.
Wow.
And I have, a few friends that I know from back in Philly, and that's great. But again, it was just about having that level of faith. And the only way that I could prove that to myself was by driving 3,000 miles and pursuing this goal. And, that's enough for me to remember every day I get up and go, you came here to do this. Be grateful, live in gratitude. You were spared so many different things that others weren't. And so I don't take any of this for granted, and I'm very grateful. So that's why if you look at my post, I'm always in gratitude. I'm always saying I'm grateful and I'm thankful, because I don't think you can ever say thank you enough
Mm-mm.
for the breath you breathe. And if you look around today, you don't take the next breath for granted at this point. And so yeah, it's been an awesome. I mean, just so much fun, so many things that I'll never forget. And obviously being on the halves has just been so exciting and so much fun. It's great. This is all. My mother would be proud. I'm sure she's looking down, just cracking up at this, because she's like, I told you, I'm always right. So yeah, she is, and I say it on the interview, so she, right? I'm giving you your props. Okay, yeah, she heard me, so yeah, I'm giving her props.
Right. How long have you been acting?
Well, now it's been well over 25 years.
Oh,
And the
wow.
interesting thing about that is, it's the journey of an artist is seeking out what's going to help you cultivate your talent. So whatever is your passion, whether it's acting or dancing, seek out those. It's important that your training is important. Staying focused on developing your craft, because it's an instrument, and just like any instrument, if you run track, you go to track practice. If you play basketball, you hoop. You hoop at practice. You hoop on the weekends just because you love what you do. So you always have to be working on your craft and developing your skills on some level, whether it's just going through your auditions or mock auditions, making sure that you journal and just get used to thinking about how you think about things, so that when you have to do character development, you can think in terms of how that character, based on the circumstances, probably thought about things. These are just everyday skills that you can tide over into your craft that will really, I think, propel you and move you forward. And even, with dancing or singing, whatever, it's all about this consistency. Try to do it as often as possible and try to work on areas, get your foundation, but always be willing to work on those areas that you're struggling the most, because that's what'll give you even more confidence when you conquer those difficulties.
When you were talking about working on your craft, I have been working on singing for about 12 years now. I've been dancing ever since I was about 4, and then I've been acting for about 4 to 5 years now.
Yeah, so you're seasoned.
Yeah, and I'm trying to work on it. I'm trying to work on acting more, because I've been dancing and singing more than I've been acting. But now I'm trying to get to doing acting more. And
you're going to start making more time. You can't try to do anything. I told you, you're not a trier. You're a doer. And so when you talk about your schedule, just say, I'm going to start fixing my schedule so that I can incorporate my acting more. You're not going to try to do it.
I'm actually doing. I joined. I don't know if have you heard of AGI Entertainment out of Atlanta?
I possibly have, but I'm not as versed in as many of the different agencies and stuff. Is that an agency or is it a production company?
It's just like it's a boot camp run by Miss Natasha Garcia and Mr. Craig, and performing arts school. It's so you go there during like the summer or the winter, and we have different trainings, and we actually do different showcases, and they do dancing, singing, and acting. So it's a triple threat performing arts school.
That's what you want. That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's what they did at Freedom Theater, essentially. So when I was speaking about this Freedom Theater in America, it was the same thing, and it was founded by John Allen. And the artistic director was Walter Dallas, who was a graduate of the Yale School of Drama. So we had a really solid foundation to work from, and we took movement classes as well as voice. So it's very similar to what you're doing, and that's wonderful. And keep doing that. I mean, it's so important. I didn't stay with my vocals. That's the one thing that I missed the most, because I could sing as a child, which is how I ended up in the Philadelphia Boys Choir, because they auditioned 800 kids a year. Right. And so, but when I didn't stick with it after my voice changed, because I stayed in the choir, and then when your voice changes, you get to come, you can come back later and audition if you want to be in what they called at the time the men's chorale. I think that's still there. But at that point, I was more into sports, and I was like, I'm done with singing. Never thinking that later on in life, this could benefit me in my acting career, because I wasn't owning that, like I told you back then. So what I did is just focus all my energy at that time on sports. And I never quite, because I didn't focus on my vocals, I never quite got, I was never able to develop my vocals the way I think I'm sure I would have had I stuck with it. So that's why I advise, just stick with it. If entertainment is truly your plan, just as long as you're blessed to be able to do that, just do it all. And really work at it and develop it and let it be a strength, so it's a confidence booster when you have to perform.
Okay. What is your favorite thing about being on set?
Honestly, it's just, if I'm speaking about Tyler Perry Studios, then it's just the energy, the people. We just, it really was a family environment. I didn't know what to expect. I just wanted to go down there and make sure I didn't slow anybody down, because they were such a cast that had been together for already 4 seasons before I arrived. So it was really important to me to make sure that I didn't, I wanted to be able to hit the ground running. And the wonderful thing about it was Crystal Fox, who plays Hannah. I mean, she just took me in like a family member, and we worked so well together and had such a wonderful experience working together. It's something I'll never forget. What a wonderful person. I mean, her, Angela, who plays Veronica, another wonderful, just such a loving, giving human being. Wonderful to work with. I love just being around them. Even when we weren't working, we would go out and hang out. And, we just had a wonderful time together. They just like treated me like a brother, like a family member. And I just had an immense joy every time I would arrive to set, because then it was playtime with my friends. It's a whole different feeling when you're coming from that place. But it's kind of like, because I've worked on other sets, and of course you're hired depending. Like, this was my largest job, right, where I was recurring on multiple episodes. But before, I might be there for a day or a week, and so you come in, you do your job, people are nice, it's professional atmosphere, and you have, fun for the day or the week, and then you're gone. But to be there for over a month, and you're just there during the summer, and it's Atlanta, and I hadn't been to Atlanta in many years, and I had a blast. I mean, it just, every time I go to set, it's like, that world that you look at on paper and you work on in your rehearsal space, then you're there, you're in it. And you get to really allow it to come alive. And so for me, it was joy, in a word.
Wow, okay. What is your biggest struggle with celebrity life?
I'm not a celebrity. You know how I know? I live in Los Angeles, where the celebrities live. I'm an actor. And I would say that's just my reality. I think celebrity is a scary thing. I truly pray for immense success without celebrity. Celebrity is attention. Celebrity is people concerning themselves with aspects of your life that are not any of their business. They're concerning themselves with aspects of your life that, they feed on the negative, and they don't always accentuate the positive. So I don't have issues with celebrity. I think if I could say one thing, could be the perception of my celebrity by other people. Not here, but the world is online now. So even though you're not in this part of the country or this part of the world, everybody's connected and can speak out, or and so the way people can perceive your life to be, think you make a ton of money, or think you have a bunch of cars, or and those are people that do have that. Right. But for me, I'm an actor who works very hard, who got an amazing break and did the best I could to make the most of it. But I still, the fight continues. The journey continues to the next gig, or what's next for Derek, or what's next for Keith. So I think that there's no struggle. There's just, you always have to stay grounded in who you are and what your goal is in that. And for me, it's just to have this as a career, to be as successful as I can possibly be, but to also have as much fun as possible, and to hopefully affect change or affect people in a positive way that make them, feel accessible to the same things that I once didn't, and eventually had the blessing of having people, advocate for me. So hopefully this is something that I can do for others in the future.
Okay. What would you tell any young person who is not sure what they want to do or be in life?
Simple. I would just ask them to just be honest with yourself. Don't tell anyone. Write it down on a piece of paper. Be honest with yourself and write what you feel like if you could be anything you want to be, truly, if you could be that, and it was something that is happening. Like acting is, being an actor is something that's an ongoing thing, or an actor, So if that's what you want to do, if you want to be in the NBA, if you want to be in the NFL, whatever it is, please remove the fear. Just know that anytime you feel a pushback and it's like, oh, I don't know, maybe I'm tripping, that's fear. That's not any reasonable thing. Oh, I'm broke. Okay, no problem. Then get a plan together, save some money, borrow some money, whatever it takes, but be on a plan that's going to sustain you. If you decide you're going to move to New York, or you're going to move to Los Angeles, or you're going to move to Atlanta, Georgia, have a plan in place, and know that as long as you're willing to be as patient as you can be to
Mm-hmm.
execute your plan, there's a huge likelihood of success. You know, most of the time, the things that deter young people and deter us when we're young is just fear to me, nothing else. Your circumstances are your circumstances, and I come from some trying ones. Okay, which is why I wanted to write a book, because people wouldn't believe it. People judge a book by its cover. They think they know your story just by the way you look to them, or the way you appear to look to them. But
Right.
there's things that you can't even imagine that I've seen, that I've experienced, that I come from. And I feel that those are the people that I'm the most passionate about speaking to, because I know that those are often the ones that hope isn't as readily accessible for. And so, while I love speaking to all, and what you know, but it's those who I'm the most passionate, because we all have something to offer. Just that word fear is literally everything that tells you you can't, or it's probably not a good idea, is rooted in fear. So if you can remove that, write that stuff down. You don't ever have to show it to nobody, but every time you're not feeling quite confident about it, go look at that piece of paper again. And remember, that's what you want to do, you know, and don't, and make sure it may change. And you don't always have to be, you know, like you're doing acting, you're doing singing, you're doing dancing, but it's still all rooted in the arts.
Mm-hmm.
So if also at some point you want to start working with the stocks and doing trades, that's great. Be well versed. It's just be willing to commit to it. Don't say, oh, forget this. This isn't working out. I'm going to do this now. Do both. Figure it out. Don't limit yourself. Don't say something is too much until you've proven it to yourself. Set out to show yourself that it's not, that it's possible. So these are the things that I honestly, from my trial and error, from my missteps, from my fear, that I can speak on. Not just from, oh, I didn't have that issue. No, I had these issues. So now I'm speaking to young people because it's important. All that did was prolong the inevitable. All that did was slow me down. It didn't stop me, but it slowed me down. So I would just advise, just push through, push through.
That's what my mom, she tells me all the time. She's like, you don't have to tell everyone your business. Keep
No,
it to yourself. Don't tell everyone what you're doing, because some people can pray against that. So don't tell everybody what's happening, or don't tell people that you're going to age. They don't need to know that. They don't need to know what you're doing, your career. They don't need to know that Jocelyn Joseph is making her way to the top and meeting different people that she never thought she would meet. Don't tell everybody that. So just keep it to yourself. And the people that do
right.
support you, they will support you when the time is right.
Absolutely. I mean, and your mom is giving you amazing advice. I mean, she really is. I mean, because oftentimes we tell people things because fear. Watch what I'm getting ready to show you. Because we low key want their approval. On
Mm,
some level, we want them to tell us that what we're doing is great, and then we want them, or we want them to tell us that, well, if anyone can do it, you can. We
right.
want something. That's the only reason we tell them. That's the only reason. Because when it's people that we know that love us, it's more about sharing,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But we'll just throw something out there, throw it away. You know, yeah, I was thinking about going to, you know, Freedom Theater, so you know, somebody was talking about it. Now, all it takes is somebody to go, oh, I heard that place is a joke. Yeah, they've been having some financial troubles or something. I don't know. But you know, supposed to be cool. I mean, you know, good luck. Now they done taken you all the way out of your space. That was yours.
Yep.
You don't give anyone your phone and let them walk around with it. Don't give them your dreams, right?
Right.
Okay, I'm just saying, like, I had to learn that though. This isn't me telling you because you did. This is me telling you what I did and then had to come back from. You know,
Mm,
that's the thing. Like, it's like I did something that knocked me down, and then I had to shake it off and get back up and continue. But that time that I was on the ground, picking myself up, bleeding, trying to tend to my wounds, that was wasted time. I
mm,
created that wasted time. That person hitting me with their comment didn't, because I didn't have to say something. If I didn't say anything, they wouldn't have said anything. And then I wouldn't be picking myself up off the ground emotionally behind that. So, you know, protect your dreams and your passions the way you protect your loved ones, because that's what that is. That's your dreams and your passion. right? So that's like protecting your family member. That's a family member. That's your baby, you know? And so treat it with that kind of love and care and protection. And I think, you know, that's just what your mother is really trying to get you to really understand. It's more about you learning how to love yourself even on a different level, and that we're not often taught, a lot of us, how to love our dreams and how to love, you know, our hopes, and protect them, you know, because you're going to get beat up enough in this
Mm-hmm.
just doing it, you know, whether it be in auditions and you know, the ones that say yes and the ones that say no, you know, you're going to go through all of that. So why add on to people who have zero investment in
Right.
your life and in your success? So yeah, moms is on point right there for sure.
How do you handle being told you did not get the part? Like in any,
Oh,
yeah.
newsflash, you don't get told, you just don't get a call. That's
Right.
how you find out you didn't get it. The phone just doesn't ring for that job. You know, you like right now we're all doing self tapes, right? So like I put an audition on tape and submit it. My agency sends it in. If they're interested, they'll pick up the phone and they'll call, and then they'll start, you know, the negotiations for salary and booking dates and so forth like that. Otherwise, you just don't hear anything, and you know, oh, I didn't hear anything back. And after a while, you just get used to it. You
Mm.
don't necessarily get used to the, you know, if there's something that, if there's a project that you were really passionate about and it doesn't work, you never get used to, you know, the disappointment of not getting that project, but you get used to the fact that that's just the nature of things.
Mm.
Like when you sit down and you start to figure out what guests you'd like to have on your show, it's no slight to someone if they want to be on your show, but they're not at a level, or they're not where you're trying to take your platform. It's
Right.
out of respect, or it could just be because it doesn't fit your platform. It has nothing to do with even how, you know, talented or whatever they are. But it's your platform, it's your show. You have the right to do it how you see fit. And so when I'm going out for an audition, when you know, I'm looking at a character, I'm trying to see how I can be of service to that character and service to the story. And if my idea of that fits what that writer or that director or that producer's idea of that story is, then certainly he's gonna hire me or she's gonna hire me, right?
Mm.
But if they don't, I just see it as, hey, I didn't fit this story. I went in for at least 5 or 6 auditions for Tyler Perry Studios before I booked Derek, and this is over the years. And it got to the point where I was like, well, maybe they just, you know, nothing personal, but maybe I just don't fit their, you know, the way they. And then I thought, well, maybe just the right role hasn't come yet for
Right.
me, because look at when it did. Look at how wonderful it was. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, I've been out here for a long time. My biggest break came 25 years in. That I had other breaks before that, but this one was different, and it was just something that gave me much more of an opportunity to develop a character. You know, you get that in films, but like on a television show, people tuning in each week to go through the story with you is a different kind of you know, kind of a feeling. And so it was just, even though it was 25 years, I promise you, in the blink of an eye, that's why I say don't waste time, because it'll break your heart. 25 years went by like your high school years will go by.
I'm
You
already
understand what I'm
in
saying?
high school. Yes. And my mom,
It
she's
will go by like that. And then, you know, so time management, just respect and love and for your time and the way people utilize it, you know, and the way you allow them to. And just, you know, for me, it's just been wonderful. Like, despite all of that, that I get to, yeah, in spite of the you know, the rejection, or, you know, when you, and sometimes it seems like people come out of nowhere. It's for them. And I celebrate, and I'm truly happy for any actor, you know, if he or she gets an amazing opportunity and they were, oh, they just came out of, you know, they were discovered. It doesn't matter. That's not my concern.
right.
I'm overjoyed when someone who has something to share with the world gets the opportunity. It's just that I feel I have something as well, and I look forward to getting the opportunity as many times as possible before my journey on this planet and this realm is over. And that's really the long and the short of it for me, in a real way.
Okay. Um, what is your routine that you do before you go into any audition?
Well, you know, with like I said, with COVID, in the shutdown. There are no going into auditions for the last almost year now, like 9 months of no going into an audition.
Right.
So when I'm preparing for a self-tape, I mean, I'm like I said, it's really important to me to focus on the story. What's happening here? Okay. And okay, who is my character? And what brought him to this? What do I feel brought him to this place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the scene takes place in a restaurant, like what brought him to this moment? Okay. And then based on who he is, based on the information I have, what filter coming through me based on my life experiences, based on the things that I know, and just that I even discover or willing to try, I try to pour it through that. I try to set the circumstances for myself. If I know that the scene opens with me walking into an office and, and then I'm here I'm here to speak with whatever. I understand what my purpose in that scene is. Like, I know that I came here to get closure. Let's just say, hypothetically, I might say I came in here to get closure. Mm-hmm. So before I start filming, in my head, I'm thinking, I'm going through the moments like we do in real life, right? About mm-hmm. why I need closure. If you're sitting there waiting to go into a meeting or waiting to go into a job interview, you're going in your head how you're going to present yourself, why I'm qualified, why you should want to hire me, how I'm such a people person. You're going through all of this in your mind. If you're going in to defend yourself in an arbitration hearing or something like that, you're sitting waiting to go in the courtroom and say, well, this is why I feel this is unfair, and this is why. So that's the same with acting. It's like, why am I here? What do I want? And what am I willing to do to get those results? And you create that reality for yourself and then let it go. Fly free.
Okay. I'm going to have to take some of that with me.
I hope it works for you. I mean, it's just the more freer you are, the less concerned you are about your performance. The less concerned you are in, when I say your performance, and how you look, you get past that. Once you've done everything, that's done. Right. Okay. You walk into those circumstances, live in those circumstances, let go, live it. Don't worry about being cute. Like there's times when I if I'd have thought for 1 second, oh, wow, I made that face. I know my forehead's wrinkled. Like, so what? That's real life. When you're in that situation, you probably gonna wrinkle your forehead. So, the more freedom you give to yourself, the more love you give to yourself, and allow your, and your instrument to just go. Like when you're dancing, you're not thinking about, this isn't my best move. You're thinking, I'm just going with where the music takes me. This is how this music makes me feel. I don't care how I look. This is what I'm expressing. You care, but you care enough to know that you trust yourself. And the more you trust yourself, I feel the more free and the more realistic and the more effective we are, in our craft and in those scenes and in those auditions. And again, you're giving them your sample. You're not saying, am I good enough to be on this show? You're saying, well, this is how I see her. And they may redirect you and go, oh, I really like that. Now, can you take her in that direction? Now you're taking the same person with those same circumstances, but they're not quite as angry, or they're matter of fact about it, but they still have all that going on. As long as you build your foundation in a scene for you as an actor, build that foundation of who you are, they'll be able to move you in any direction, because who you are as a person, right, can be moved in different directions based on the circumstances. Build your characters with a foundation that can be moved in any direction.
Wow.
Within their limitations, So, yeah.
About how many auditions did you go on before you landed your big role in The Have and the Have-Nots?
I couldn't even begin to tell you, but I would probably dare say 1,000, easy.
1,000? Well, that's a lot of hard work.
You remember, I've been out here 25 years, so you got to figure my first audition was within the first year and a half. Matter of fact, the first year, first year and a half, that was Players Club. So that was the first booking I had. My first appearance on television was with Will on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I was running on the treadmill with Carlton, and we were going back and forth because I had a lot of hair back then. And it's on my Instagram page if you ever want to look it up.
Wow.
Scroll down. That scene between myself and Carlton is on there. And Will threw that to me. And then also I was his stand-in for Men in Black, the first one. And that's how I got in the Screen Actors Guild. And I was able to learn and be on set with those, you know, with the greats, Tommy Lee Jones, Will Smith, and, you know, just being able to see how they move and see how they, you know, it was amazing. And, you know, again, that, you know, shout out to Will Smith. I always shout him out because he indirectly, but directly, you know, it was kind of like he was helping me. Our paths had crossed, but this was really doing a solid for a buddy of his. That was the person that was the catalyst for me coming out here, because I, you know, had asked him, hey, if I come out, can I shadow you up at the studio and kind of see how things work on set at, you know, Fresh Prince? He thought about it a couple of days, called me back, man, come on, let's do it. I came out, I flew out, I was out here for about a week, staying not even a mile from where I'm sitting right now at this little motel in
Wow.
Burbank, close to the studio, which is in walking distance from where I'm sitting right now. So like my life has come full circle because I live practically down the street from where I booked my first job. And it's just such a huge blessing. You know, but like I said, it's important that people give back. It's important that people at the very least give of themselves. And so, you know, this is a highlight of the end of my year, having this interview and being able to talk to someone and speak to young people who dream of doing anything, but especially if you have a career desires in the arts, please go for it. By any means necessary, get it done.
That's I didn't even know you had connections with Will Smith till you said that.
Well, I mean, you know, it was one of it, you know, our paths just kept crossing. Like we went to two different dances. Where the first dance was the freshman frolic at Archbishop Carroll in Philadelphia. That was in Radnor, which is right outside of Philadelphia. And him and my first girlfriend went to the same high school. So she took me on her dance. I think it was a soft hop. That's what it was. One of freshman frolic. I'm sorry, it was a soft hop. And this is how I met Will Smith. So I didn't know him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm 15 years old. I'm at this soft hop and we're dancing. And that was when the like hip hop first really started to come on to the scene. Now, mind you, he's 14. I'm 15. Will's 14. So I don't know him. So at this point, you know, the party's jumping, everything's great. You know, we're at the school, you know how they do the school parties in the cafeteria, but they dress it up or whatever for the sock hop. And so next thing I know, they playing Rapper's Delight or one of them songs, right? And then they played the instrumental or something. I think it was that song or another song. And then all of a sudden, this group starts performing. And then this guy goes, I'm Will from Philly, and I'm this and that. And I'm like, the energy level, you just kind of had to stop him. I was like watching, and I was like, the energy level and the confidence. Now, he may have been terrified, but he didn't look like he was.
Right.
And he just had this crazy amount of energy, and he was just like in it. And I was like, who is this cat? You know, like, this is a trip. And she was like, oh, that's Will. And I was like, okay. She was like, yeah, he lives in Winfield near your cousin and blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, once you meet somebody, you know how it is. You start noticing if your paths cross again. And then our paths crossed at the senior prom, but in the neighborhood a few, you know, many different times. But then my girlfriend that was a senior at the school he was at because he went to a different school. And when he went to that school and for his senior prom, I ended up on that senior prom with my then girlfriend. And so we ended up at all these places. So when my buddy said, hey, I got a buddy that wants to come out, he didn't readily know it was me. But once I got here, it was open arms and it was just all love. And I'm so grateful for that. Like, just to have that, you know, that access and opportunity to just learn and really see how it was done. And he was like, if you're serious about this, you just gonna have to pack up and move.
Oh, wow.
I went back home, and 6 months later, I drove on out.
That's what Mr. Brandon said a couple months ago. I was in the studio recording with some other girls, and my mom, she was waiting I think it was in the foyer, and we all finished our different lines of the song, and he told the other girls they could leave, and he called my mom. He was just like, Miss Mary, can you come in here? he was like, you guys are going to have to move closer because what I want to do with your daughter, we're going to have her put in different stuff and different things that she's going to need to be up here in Atlanta for. So you guys don't have to drive 3.5, almost 4 hours just to get to Atlanta. So you guys are going to have to move closer. And I was just like, that's cool. And
Right.
his name is Mr. Brandon J. He played on I think he was on one of Tyler Perry's shows. Then he played on Let It Shine. And I was just like, because when I first found out about AGI, it was before my audition, and Mom, she was just like, I'm trying to get you in contact with AGI, and so you can get an audition call and everything. And when I found out who was a part of AGI, I was like, why does that look like somebody from off of Let It Shine? I was like, oh, it's Brandon J off of Let It Shine. I was just like, no way.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
It was great.
And one day someone, believe me, will be that excited when they see you. Sooner than you think. Trust me.
Thank you.
You know, and just be, you know, and it's just the blessing of you know, access. Like, so many people are great at things, but we don't get to see what they're great at on television. So what we do, a bunch of people get to see because we're entertaining them on some level. We're taking their mind off of things for a little while. We're reminding them of why they even work so hard so they can do certain things and have access to certain things. So, you know, it's a noble profession, and it's definitely worthy of its praise. You know, it's a lot different in this world now because, you know, with the advent of, you know, reality television and the fact that a person can, you know, basically have a one hit and next thing you know, they have a show built around them, you know, like it's a different world. And so what entertains people to me is worthy of compensation. So I don't get caught up into that either. There's no judgment. It's just how people perceive it and how they get excited is based on what moves them. So like there's people that have never seen the have and the have nots, but thankfully there's millions who have. And so because of that, I'm so very blessed to, you know, have so many people that now know my name and know my work. And so that's the thing, you know, like you're just grateful that at some point people are gonna really know your work and they're gonna remember that you started out, yeah, she had her own show and she was doing this. It's all a part of your journey and it's all a part of your development, you know, and embrace it because one day you'll see how these particular situations in these days are what you'll call your roots and your foundation. And they'll definitely be the reason that you're so confident and so comfortable in front of the camera.
Right.
You know, you're already doing that. And you look, I promise you, you seem so at ease and at home. So you're definitely in the right space right now. Let me tell you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you think it is important for young kids to keep their heads in the books, even if they don't, you know, think about going further in their education?
Okay, let me clarify. When you say in the books specifically, what are you saying? Graduate high school, go to college? Like, what specifically do you mean by keep their head in the books?
Like, after they graduate college, is it important to still keep their heads in the books?
Honestly, you know, if you decide to go to college, that's wonderful. If you decide to go to a trade school based on an interest or specific desire, you know, years ago when I was out here, I used to temp. And one of the things I used to do, work for the different companies, and I worked for, I believe it was the electric company out here, and they were setting up interviews for engineers.
Mm-hmm.
And the engineers that went to a trade school specifically actually started at a higher rate than people who had a college degree in that same field, simply because their training for their entire time was specifically in that one area. So it just depends on what you want to do. I think once you've trained, like let's say if we're talking about acting and you get a bachelor's in fine arts, and you still want to train again, and if there's a workshop where you train by doing a play, in a sense, keeping your tools sharp by working in the theater and consistently character development, or there's just a great workshop. It could be a comedy workshop that you want to do because you want to, you know, become more comfortable with physical comedy or just improv. All of those things are going to help you continue to develop your craft. So like I said, you never finish, you never stop until you're at a place where you want to. But I would advise to just, it's not like you have to keep a gun to your head, but I'm saying you always want to continue to develop. You always want to, you know what, it doesn't have to be, I'm going to go back and get my master's unless that's something that you want. But if there's just things, I say stay with the training though. Stay, you know, taking a class at least every year, and at least every year and a half. Like once you start working, every year and a half, you decide you want to jump in a workshop or you want to work on this piece or play. Yeah, absolutely. I do it. I haven't now because everything's shut down. But yeah, I've had the, you know, the good fortune of taking some great workshops out here in LA that really have pushed me forward in what I'm doing.
I was recently in a workshop. It was called the Song of a Daisy. And I played Oriaku and one of the Omu women. And that's
Okay.
what AGI does, but it wasn't like an AGI thing. Mr. Brandon J, he was a part of it. But it was kind of like a thing to know, you know, instead of me staying home and not working on my craft, I could go out and, you know, sharpen my craft like I would usually do if COVID wasn't here. But it was like a little
Sure.
mini workshop that I could do to sharpen my acting a little more and everything like that. So
Yeah, it's great. I mean, like sometimes you can take a scene that you've worked on before, you know, if you have it on tape, you look at it, and then you go, okay, you know, I'm going to shoot this again for myself and see what I can bring to it, to just give yourself options. Because when when we have an audition, we're under the gun. So we get the audition today and they say they want it by tomorrow by 5, right? But I can go back right now, snatch an audition from last month and shoot it again for myself just to see where I would bring the character today. What, after stepping away from it, how would I approach it? Has anything changed? Because what that does is inform me something for the next time, and journal, write about it so that you can go to it. You can go, what was I thinking? What did I say about that? And you can go right to your journal. Right there, I was talking about this character, and I was saying that when I first approached it, this was my perspective. But now, having gone back and thought about it some more further, when I shot it a second time, I tried this and that. And what I ended up with was this. And, you know, it gives you something. So when you get a similar audition, you can go, you know, you can start from a place that feels a little more grounded. Like these are just things that you can do in the meantime on your own that doesn't require, you know, a class, since things are shut down right now. But, you know, little stuff like that. And of course, reading is always great. And just the way you look at a story. When you're reading a story and you're thinking about the character, if you come across a story and you feel like you can relate to a character for some reason, really, at that moment, start to dig in and start to really relate as you're reading. Because when that character comes across in an audition, you're going to go, oh, this reminds me of this book I read, and that character really touched me. It may, even if it's not something that you experienced directly, because of what that character experienced in the book, they kind of take you through it, right? It almost makes you feel like you kind of experienced it on some level if it was a really great writer. And you can use that experience in your character work as well, because it's about how that made you feel. And in the book, they usually talk about their circumstances and their foundation and how they got to the place they are. So I think that's great.
Do you have any questions you would like to ask me, or?
Well, ultimately, yes, I would. What is your, like right now, you know, if I was to say, what is your ultimate goal in entertainment? Is there one? Or if you had to say, let's say in 2 sentences, ultimately, what is your ultimate, like, I'd like to have, and then like in terms of your career in entertainment, how would you describe what you see, how you see yourself moving through this? What's your end goal?
My main goal is to inspire people, like when they listen to my music or when they see me acting, just to inspire them and saying, you know, you can do whatever you put your mind to. Don't quit. If you stay committed, you have to give God the glory first. Then if you stay committed and keep going and have faith and put work into it, you'll be fine.
That's awesome. I mean, I think, you know, that's very selfless and very, you know, forthright. I just was wondering, like, what does it, you know, what does this art, like, how does it speak to you? What does it give you? Because like is that your voice? Is that where you feel
Yes,
your voice is?
that's where I feel, especially with singing, that's
Mm-hmm.
where I feel that my voice is and how I can communicate to different people, not just
Sure.
with dancing and acting and yet, but singing as well, because singing has always been a
Mm.
part of me ever since I was a wee little newborn. If you would ask my mom, if you would sit down and ask my mom, she would tell you, my baby, when I was pregnant with her, every time she hear music, her belly would go blurp, blurp, blurp. And then when I was born and when I would go
Mm.
to sleep, I would rock myself to sleep. I wouldn't cry, but I would sing myself to sleep with a little song.
That's awesome.
Time.
That's awesome. I mean, honestly, I think that's wonderful that you have this amazing support system at home. You know, I think it's amazing that you are embracing it and that you know what you want to do and that you're willing to put in the work. And I believe, that you will have all the success your heart can handle
Thank you.
and beyond. And I wish you nothing but continued blessings and safe travels in your endeavors. And I'll be watching and cheering you on.
Thank you. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to Teenz Talk with this for this episode with me and Mr. Keith here. Do you have any words of inspiration to close out before we close?
Uh, well, first and foremost, I'd just like to thank everybody for hanging out with us and hanging out with me for a few and showing me some interest. Uh, Thank you for your support on Has and the Have Nots, Derek, and his trials and tribulations with life. Thank you for your, for your comments and just please, please, please continue to support me and it means the world. You can always find me at Keith_Burke_official on IG and drop me a note. Let me know what your thoughts are. Continue believing in yourself. And no matter how trying things can be, let the smoke clear if necessary, but never stop and never give up and never let anyone speak anything negative or discouraging that can move you. Know that what's been placed in your mind and in your heart was placed by God and by the universe, and it's that intention that is more powerful than anything that anyone else can say to you or about you. So just it's my thought and prayer that everyone remain healthy, remain safe, and remain inspired. Nothing but love.
Thank you for your time and your kind words. And we will see you guys on the next episode of Teenz Talk.
See you then.
Just keep building, never